You don't fix bad skin tones by grading the skin. You fix the background first. Because skin does not need more saturation, it needs less contamination. I'll expose the industry secret about good looking skin tones before we even get to resolve. Matter of fact, I'm gonna do that right now. Good skin tones are achieved by removing color, not adding. See, we always view grading as adding something. I want to do this to the image needs this. The way we speak about color grading always makes you think, gives you this idea that the image is missing something. But I want to flip your world on its head. What if instead of missing something and you having to add something that was not there to begin with, what if your image has too much of what it's damaging it? Today, I'll show you how to take advantage of this concept to get the best skin tones you've ever seen. Now, if you don't know me, I'm Giuseppe, and I started out as a broke videographer many years ago that did not even know how to do basic color correction. Eventually, I fell in love with color grading and decided I wanted to pursue color grading as a full-time career. That's why today, I'm very happy to say that I'm a remote colorist. Before we even get to the software, I want to teach you what you need to know conceptually so that you know what we're going to talk about. The first thing that we have to define is what exactly is good skin? What does it mean when the skin looks good? Basically, to have good-looking, professional, pleasant skin, you need skin that is uniform in color, in hue more precisely. This means that when you see the skin in your clip, it does not have any reddish spots, usually under the eyes, under the nose, and things like that, and no yellowish spots at the same time, usually on the cheeks, this area, and so on. The second thing, which is a secret hidden in plain sight, can make or break the way your skin looks. It is context. Listen, every object always reacts to the illuminant. You can see that I have cyan lighting in this room, so whatever is behind me is becoming to look blue, right? You can agree with that. Now, it wouldn't be okay if I were lit only with blue lighting and my face still looked normal. Why is this important? You need to know that the advice that is usually given to people is misleading. Because beginners, when they want to learn color grading, they're usually taught that the skin needs to look a certain way, which is the way it looks right now. So it needs to always be this color. But it can't be that way, because I've just told you that the way the skin looks, and every object for that matter, changes based on the light that you hit it with. So why is that advice dangerous? Because beginners that don't know any better and have never been taught properly approach color grading with the mentality that if the skin doesn't look a certain way always, then it's looking bad. Not realizing that the skin needs to look good in context. So we have two factors at play here. First, we want the skin to have as little variation as possible. We want the skin to be of the same color, roughly. Second, we have to account for the light that is hitting our subject. Now let's see how we apply these two simple concepts to the way we do color grading. Let's go. Okay, so let's see in action practically what it means to have uniform skin and how to achieve it. This is a reel that I graded for a beauty brand. And I don't want you to look at the things I did if it looks complex for you. Just worry about the way we address the skin. Whatever you're doing, you can apply the things I'll talk about now. The first thing I want you to pay attention to is this section right here. I have set up my program to show me the vector scope. If you're not familiar with this instrument allows us to see what the different colors in our image are doing, how saturated they are, what colors we have. As you can see, it is colorized. And we use tools like the vector scope because sometimes our own eyes lie to us. I explain more of this in my Color Kings Academy. If you're curious and want to learn more about the Academy, just click the top link in the description. Now let's watch this quick lesson together. What if I told you that to get better at color grading, you actually need to trust your eyes less? That's exactly what I asked myself the first time I took a look at scopes. Now, what exactly are scopes? Why do we need them? And why do we need to trust our eyes less? Well, the first concept that you've got to grasp is the fact that our eyes do not see things as things really are. Everything that we see is interpreted by the brain, and the eyes have this beautiful way of seeing color relative to other things. I'll give you a quick example. If you close your eyes on a really bright sunny day and then open them again 60 seconds after, what you're going to be seeing is the same picture you were seeing before, now all washed in blue. Same thing happens when we have a really bright color next to a darker one. When that happens, the bright color will appear brighter and the dark one will appear darker. Now, there's psychological and biological reasons for what's happening, but I won't go into too much detail because we're not here for that. Today, I want to teach you how to rely on scopes when your own eyes deceive you. Now, let's see when you want to read the vector scope and how to actually do it. The vector scope allows us to get an accurate reading of what the colors in our image are saying. Now, why is that important for skin? Because we can use the vector scope to understand if the way our skin looks is close to the way it should look. What you want to do if you're in DaVinci is this. Do it right now. Open DaVinci, pause this video, open DaVinci, open a project, and do this as I speak. You go to the color tab and you get your vector scope from here. So you click right here. If you have a different scope, click right here and you're going to select vector scope. You're going to find it in a list. As soon as this pops up, click on this button right here. You click on the checkbox that says show skin tone indicator. This will make this line appear on your vector scope. The next thing you want to do to close the circle is click on these three dots right here. And once you do that, you want to click on display qualifier focus and make sure it's checked. If you have done things properly, what will happen is that you'll have this line on the vector scope, and as soon as you hover with your mouse right here, you will get a reading of the color you're selecting. I'm not clicking anything. You just need to move your mouse and this will happen by itself. Now, as you can see, we have this line. DaVinci saying this: Giuseppe, in normal lighting conditions, like in this case, the skin should be sitting on this axis, this particular axis. In our case, it is not. We can see that if I hover right here, we get a big circle around this area. So I'm understanding that this is where our skin tone is sitting right now. So we have a problem. When the skin is not aligned with this line, it can either be too yellow or too red. In our case, do you see that right here, very small on my screen, we have a kind of a square with a Y next to it? That's signifying the color yellow. So if the skin moves towards this color, well, it's skewed towards a yellower hue, basically. The same thing can happen if it goes above that line. In that case, you see this box with the letter R next to it, that signifies red. So if the opposite happens, our skin is looking a little too reddish than normal. Now, the thing we want to do to have clean, polished skin tones is skin that in normal lighting conditions sits on this axis. You can see that the skin, now that I've made you notice it, the skin looks a little too yellow. So our objective would be to recover what we can and move the skin. And there's a couple of instruments that I'm going to show you that you can use to your advantage. Look, I've told you that the more a color extends from the center of the vector scope, the more that color is saturated. And you can see that we have some green, a little bit of cyan right here, and some orange in the skin. Now, do you see how the image is kind of unbalanced? How it's veering towards this side, and how the center is almost empty? This tells us that the white balance of the image probably isn't right. And I can confirm this if I hover with my mouse over here, over this that should be white, and we see that in fact we get a circle around this area that veers towards yellow. This tells us that, yeah, the white balance is improper. So why is this useful? Because a lot of times when beginners have bad skin tones, you need to understand that your problem is not in the skin itself now, it's in your white balance, and you can fix that in post. So if I enable my color grade and we see how it looks, we'll instantly see an improvement. Let's watch that. Boom. Now, the skin is sitting way closer to what it should be. And as you can see, my grade is being applied, and this does more than just white balance it. And this is already a good improvement. But what do you do when you really do not want to compromise and you really want that clean, polished skin in your footage? What you do is this. Do you remember at the very beginning, I told you we need the skin to be uniform. What was I talking about? What I meant is that we want to eliminate spots like this one. Do you see how there's a subtle shift in hue? Right here, when it begins to be a little yellow. And we want to eliminate spots like right here close to her eye. We want to eliminate this. We want to make this the same color as with her whole face. Same thing can be said over here. Do you see how we have some red right here? It's very subtle, but it's one of those things that the eye doesn't notice if you don't pay attention, but you feel them. You feel that there's something missing, right? That there's that thing that could be more polished. This is one of them. So right here, we see that there's some red. And right here, do you see how it gets yellow? Now, I'm not saying that she has bad looking skin. This is just the way that light fell on her face and the camera captured it. Now we've got to go in and restore the skin to what would be appropriate and good looking. Same thing can be said for her arm. Do you see how right here it gets really yellow? And right here instead, when it gets, darker, when it's closer to the shade, well, it's looking proper. You can see that right here, the circle that we have on vector scope, it's closer to the ideal line. The opposite is true for this one. So how do we do that? We need to use an instrument. And the instrument that we're going to use is called custom curves, hue versus sat, and hue versus hue. I have a complete guide about this, by the way, in my Color Kings Academy. I have a skin tones workshop where I teach you in better details how to get exactly the type of look that we're going to get. What you want to do is make the yellow parts more red and the red parts more yellow. That's in basic layman's terms what we're going to do. The way you do that is by on DaVinci, you're going to have your program kind of like this. Hold on. You're going to have something like this. This will be your interface. On DaVinci, you want to go right here on your curves, and instead of being in this section, which is like the standard curves section, you want to hit one of these buttons. It opens up another type of curves. You want to hit the first one and the second one. As you can see, I already have some adjustments right here. You won't have adjustments, but that's not a problem because I'm about to teach you how to make them. The thing we need to worry about is changing as I told you, what color the skin is. Yellow becomes reddish, reddish becomes yellow. The way we do that, what we're doing is changing the hue, the tonality of that color, basically. And we do that by using this instrument, which is called hue versus hue. So how do you use this instrument? The way you use it is the following. By clicking and making points and making them go up or down to change the color. So if the point goes up, the color moves to the left. So let's say yellow becomes red if it goes up. As you can see, like the plant is becoming red or magenta. If it goes down, it's like making the color go to the right. So it can become cyan, blue, and likes. You see what's happening. So what we're going to do, instead of actually, making the points ourselves, as you can see, it's really imprecise. I am not even trying to move the line, but as soon as I make a point, since I'm not really spot on with my mouse, it's changing the way things look. You don't want to go ahead this way. What you want to do, reset all by clicking this button if you were following along, and you want to hit one of these colors. As soon as you do that, DaVinci creates for you 3 points already set, which are very easy to manipulate. You can grab this now and you can move it around. But I don't actually like to move points around this way. What I prefer to do is actually use the hue rotate slider right here, which does the same thing, but way slower. Now, why do we do this? Because color grading is not done with big strokes. Think of us like painters, right? We're not doing big strokes. We're being like brain surgeons, okay? Small adjustments, small incremental adjustments. We really want to see what's happening because it's very easy to ruin your footage. So that's why we proceed slower in this case. Also because when you have just one parameter, instead of, also deciding if it should go more towards the left or right, you only have one thing to worry about, which is up or down. Okay, so especially if you're a beginner, listen to me very closely. Especially if you're a beginner, you really want to worry about just one damn thing at a time, right? You agree with that. So that's the thing you should worry about. So do not even move the point left or right. Don't worry about it. Just move it up or down. Now, is the skin more yellow or more red? The skin's more yellow because we need to, it's under the line, right? It was going towards yellow. I told you that. So should we address the reddish parts of the skin or the yellow parts of the skin? The yellow. So what we do, even though I created the red, you see I clicked on the red, and now we can also select the red right here, which is in the at the very beginning. We select the yellow. Doesn't matter that you created the point or not. We select the yellow, and we need to rotate the hue of this color. We need to make, we need to push the yellow up. The way we do that is like this. And as you can see, I can use my scope. I can both look at my scope or at the skin itself until I'm happy with the result. Right now, do you see how everything is lining up right here in such a very nice way? Let's look at the way the skin looks now. Let's make this bigger compared to before. Now, as you can see, we're changing a bit the way the plant looks. Why? Because these changes are happening globally. It means that I'm not selecting her face. I'm not having a mask around her face, okay? Why is this happening? Because I do not want to overcomplicate the video. I want to show you the quickest way to change the way your skin looks. Do you really care that the plant is getting a little more orange? I wouldn't really care. If the cost of having a totally green plant is bad looking skin, I'd say just go ahead and get good looking skin, and that's it. So you can go ahead in the proper grade. I had the skin selected. I had a beauty pass. I had all sorts of professional things happening. For you, just worry about this. As you can see, 2 buttons, we fixed our skin. Very easy to follow, very easy to understand. Now we've got the skin halfway where it needs to be because it's on the right axis. But if you really want to dive deep, you'll see that some spots still change. Even though we move the whole skin up, and precisely the yellower parts up, you can still see that there's some variation. Do you see how, yes, this is brighter, but this is also yellower. Look at the scope. Look at how it moves up and to the right as soon as I change the area we're analyzing. Why is this? Because we have moved the yellow parts, but we still haven't compressed the skin by a big margin. So what we want to do is this. We want to keep going with our instrument. So I'm going to go like this. In the skin, do you see this line getting thinner? This is because we are compressing the skin, because we're moving just the yellow parts and they're now starting to match the red parts. So we go and we reach this point. Right now, the skin is beginning to look a little too red. So what we do now is we come back to the red right here. We select it like this. Don't click on the point. Just click right here. It's way easier. Don't give yourself more challenges than what you need. We click on the red and we go down on it. And as you can see, the very tip of that line, the skin line, as you can see, it comes down. So right now we've got skin, like look at this spot. This looked proper before. If we just look at this part of our forehead, this looked fine. This didn't. This looked a little yellow. If we now enable the node where we did all the fixing, voila, this is what we get. Now, sure, we are attacking a few other things. First, we're changing the way her hair looks. We're changing the plant. So we're compromising a few things. If you really wanted to have just a skin change, you'd need to select the skin and work only on that. But that's for another video. Or if you want to dive deep right now and learn like others are doing, check the top link in the description where you can access the Color Kings Academy. Again, it is the place where I really help you. I review your footage. I tell you what you're doing wrong. You can follow more lessons like this and you can learn how to be fucking great at color grading. If you're still here, I want to share with you some top secret stuff that nobody talks about, but will really set you apart from your peers when you do color grading. There's going to be a few times where you don't really want the skin to look like I just showed you. In this particular example, you see this is a shot that I graded for a music video. The music video needed this dark, gritty, dirty vibe. And the skin looks nice at first, but when we analyze it, we see that it is much closer to yellow than I told you it should be. Still, it looks nice. Why is that? First, the skin is looking uniform. But second, as I told you in the very beginning, do you remember when I told you that the skin reacts to the illuminant? Well, this is what's happening. Since the brain sees that this is clearly warm and looking yellow, the skin looking more yellow than what we're used to is justified because it is lit by a warm light source, basically. So the reason we can get away with skin looking like this because the brain thinks, oh yeah, if they were actually lit like that, it would make sense for them to look like that. So it still looks natural. I've given you the method to make the skin whatever you want it to be. But you should know that as you progress through color grading and you work on different footage, you will encounter times when following rules will yield a worse result than not following them. Because color grading, at the end of the day, is art. So as much as we like to talk about the technical stuff, you need to have taste and you need to understand what's happening and you need to know color theory to understand the way an image should look. If the concept of having context-driven skin is a little too far ahead for you, don't worry. Because if you're still watching the video, then you have realistically high chances of becoming one of my best students. All you want to do if you want to go ahead and end your color grading confusion is just check the top link in the description, which again takes you to my online Color Kings Academy, which if you're curious, it's an online school where I, the teacher, give you assignments, have you take exams on color grading, give you lessons, review your footage, tell you where you went wrong, where you went right. And every few weeks, we have new content being added inside. If that piques your interest, I really suggest you go take a look because right now there's still a discount active. That said, I hope I gave you some straight value today. God bless you.